with India versus England series, there's always a buzz around, and it is a marquee series because of the players that have gone by and what they've done in the series that have gone. And we here at Smell the Leather are going to be taking you through our combined Test 11 right from 2000 to 2020, which is 2 decades, a lot of cricket played in it. And there's also a little bit of a rivalry here since Gaurav is an Indian cricket fan and I'm an English cricket fan. So this list is surely going to be free of biases for the most part. We've had a lot of deliberations, discussions, and come up with our Test 11. So to start off, for the openers spot, we have Sir Alistair Cook, highest run scorer in this period, 30 games, 17 in England, 13 in India, overall average of 47, scored 2,400 runs. He's a straight shoe in, isn't he, Gaurav?
Yeah, the 2012 series we all remember is his contributions made it possible for England to win the series in India, and his captaincy as well, right on point. And 2012, even the two series in England that followed the 2012 series in India, he was brilliant in that, and the farewell 100 as well. So, yeah, the first name on the list, and no questions about that.
The second name on the list is an interesting one, as this is not one based on numbers, because you have some contenders in, say, your Andrew Strauss, who has a pretty good record, averages 42, and then you also have Michael Vaughan, who's a surprise name in this list because he's played 9 games, scored 1,000 runs, averages 72, but then only two of those games in India and scored 106 runs. So we did not consider him for that particular reason. We also had Murli Vijay and Gautam Gambhir, and their records are pretty similar, averaging in the 30s. Not someone you'd want partnering with Cook. So instead, we've gone for Virender Sehwag, who's played 17 games in this period, six in England, 11 in India, 821 runs, average of about 30, and he scored 200s, and his strike rate 75. That is absolutely magnificent, isn't it, Gaurav?
75 you said, and that's lower than his career strike rate. So I mean, talk about Sehwag. Yeah, the innings in Chennai, that 87 was the beginning of what became a memorable Test match in Indian cricket history, the second highest run chased by Indian Test cricket. So yeah, and even the 100 in Ahmedabad in 2012, the only Test match that India won that series. So yeah, whenever Sehwag has played for an hour for a session, India have been in a position to dominate the Test match, and in English conditions, yeah, he surely hasn't done that well. But if it's Indian conditions, he's your man. If he plays a session, you might as well start thinking about the win already.
For sure. And then the next two names on our list. For certain names, you don't need records. You just hear their names and they're in your list. And such is the case with Rahul Dravid and Sachin Tendulkar, the little master. Starting off with Dravid, his record is absolutely impressive. 19 matches in this period, second highest run scorer after Cook, 1,763 runs. He has an overall average of 60, averaged 69 in England, and has 700s in this period.
Wow, Rahul Dravid, he did all he could throughout his career. He opened the innings in 2011, scored 3 centuries in that series, if you remember, and none of the Indian batsmen could go past century that that series, but he managed to do that, opening the innings and the 100 at Lords, which he missed 15 years back. So that was the memory for me in that series, and the 100 in Leeds. So probably his highest point on the CV throughout his 16-year career, that he was the only player technically equipped to play that kind of innings. If you want to see how to play on a seaming track on a greenish surface, batting first, that is the inning to look at. And Rahul Dravid, not to forget his slip catching as well. So yeah, probably definitely my first name on the list in that 11. Yeah.
You talk about being technically equipped, and the next name on that list is not too far behind Sachin Tendulkar. Interestingly, his numbers aren't that great, but then, with him, it's not about the numbers. Anyway, I'll give you those numbers. It's 23 matches in this period. He's has a very equal split, 12 in India and 11 in England. Overall average of 42, averaged 45 in England and only 38 in India. But no, I'll leave it to you to take us through his spot in this 11.
Yeah, the average that you spoke about, it was the 2011 series in England and the 2012 series where he was bowled a lot of times by James Anderson, to what I remember. So that kind of had an effect on the average. But if you see previously, that he had a great series in 2002 that in Leeds as well, where he scored a magnificent century. Even in 2007, when India won, he had a couple of great 90s. And yeah, I mean, the Chennai 100 in 2008, the fourth innings chase, which England were kind enough to be back after the gruesome attack in Mumbai that happened, and it was a pretty emotional 100 as well. So, yeah, Tendulkar, there are not many 11s that you can pick without Sachin in it. Yeah, and I mean, to all of that who know how big a fan I am, I would not be a part of this if Sachin wasn't in it.
I'm sure the next name on the list is equally as impressive. You have Virat Kohli at number 5, 1,570 runs, above Sachin in the run scorers list during this period. Averages 70 in India, 36 in England because of that poor tour, as we know, in 2014. 500s overall.
Look, the 2014 series and the 2018 series, and how big a change it was. He was the highest run scorer, and the way he managed to play Anderson the next time around, and his record in India speaks for itself, be it against England or any other team. He has so the double hundreds in India and the centuries in England as well, and just the kind of energy that he brings into the team. Kohli would make most of the Indian Test 11s. Yeah, and the next name on the list is one of your favorites, Kevin Peterson, and so is mine. Probably, in my view, the greatest uh, English batsman that I have come across. And the 2012 series take us through Peterson's career throughout the 20 throughout this period.
Yeah, he is the reason I started supporting England cricket. I just wanted to watch him play. The way he batted, especially in those early years, was completely different to any of the other England batsmen. And it's so flamboyant. You of like the 2012 Mumbai innings, 186 runs, is just an innings that comes to mind when you talk about Kevin Peterson, just generally and more specifically in India England series. He's been absolutely magnificent. He's one of my favorites for sure. Just like you said, you would not be sitting here if Tendulkar was not on that list. Same for me with Kevin Peterson. Third highest running scorer in this period as well, 1,581 runs. Overall average of 58.55. Did well in India as well, 43 average, and in England he averaged 79. So Kevin Peterson as a number 6, Kohli at number 5. This lineup is just strong, isn't it? And then talk
Yeah,
about number 7. Why don't you take us through, Gaurav?
yeah. It was a close call between Dhoni and Matt Pryor, but we went ahead with Dhoni purely because of his captaincy option as well. Plus, his batting records are pretty decent as well. He played some really crucial knocks in the 2011 series where most of the batsmen could not score a lot of runs, pretty hard, tough runs. And in India, his batting abilities are right up there with anyone. So pretty calm as well with guys like Kohli and Peterson in the team. Dhoni is a must to make sure things are under control, and his keeping skills got better with time. I think Matt Pryor was equally good in terms of wicket keeping, and he played some great knocks as well. But yeah, it was a close call, and we went ahead with Dhoni.
Yeah, as you say, Dhoni with his instinctive cricketing tactical mind, he just provides that edge over Matt Pryor because, in terms of keeping, as you mentioned, pretty similar batting records as well, very much on par. Dhoni does well in England. He's averaged more in England than in India, so credit to him for that. That's our top seven. We haven't gone for an all-rounder because you have so many good batsmen, we have an incredible keeper, and then you also have so many good bowlers. And when we speak about bowlers during this period, I think Anil Kumble is one name that comes to mind. If you look at his record, he's only played 12 matches in this period, but then he's picked up 63 wickets at an average of 30, a strike rate of 60 odd. He provides that leg spinning option, and Kumble was just a genius, wasn't he, with his art?
Yeah, the greatest Test match winner for India that has ever been. So for sure, Kumble, even when the pitches are not helping, he's the man for you. It was a tough call between him and Swan, because of the 2012 series that Swan had in India. But uh, Kumble, when we talk about English conditions as well, and his 100, the famous 100 in the 2007 tour, that was a memory to cherish. So Kumble always that fighter on the field, a great captaincy option as well. So yeah, Kumble, and following up our two Englishmen in Broad and Anderson, probably Broad coming ahead of Anderson. So yeah, all yours.
Yeah, Broad. I mean, these are two guys who've taken 500 test wickets, 600 test wickets. They're just, your names on the sheet there. Broad, he's played 20 matches during this period, picked up 70 wickets, most of which were in England, to be very honest, at an average of 25. And if you look at Anderson, pretty similar figures. He has a better record in India than Broad, which is a little bit surprising for me because Broad is the one that comes to mind when you talk about variations, the cutters, leg cutters, off cutters, all that kind of stuff. I would associate that with more of Broad, which you would need in India. But Anderson has a better record in India than Broad. And if you look at Anderson's overall record during this period, he has 27 matches, 110 wickets, highest wicket taker at an average of 25.98, and he's bowled over 1,000 overs against India.
The point on Anderson, though, you mentioned Broad being a better bowler in Indian conditions than Anderson, but since the time he developed that reverse swing, and which is very important in Indian conditions, I think he was pretty good in the 2012 series. We talk about Cook and Peterson, but he had a major role to play there as well. He did a pretty well holding job. I think Broad sometimes can go wayward, but with Anderson, you've got a bank. Even if he doesn't get you the wickets, the economy is uh, around 2.5, which is just gold in Indian conditions.
Absolutely fair. And the last name on the list is someone who's helped India win a lot of series throughout his career, Zahir Khan. Why don't you take us through our final name on the sheet?
Yeah, he was just magical, wasn't he? I mean, that since the time he went to play county in 2006, he became a different bowler. After that, he shortened his run up, and he took around 80 wickets in the 16 games in that county season, but was a much improved bowler. He developed that knuckle ball, the reverse swing that he eventually became a master of. Probably the best exponent of reverse swing bowling post Wasim and Wakar, and just the ability to outsmart the batsman all the time, even in Indian conditions. After that, he with the older ball, he was very effective, and the captain didn't have to rely only on the spinners to take wickets even in Indian conditions, which was I mean just amazing. So yeah, he has to be in that level.
Yeah, absolutely. And these 11 players, you have a strong top six with Dhoni coming in at seven. And then you have four magnificent bowlers in Kumble, Zahir Khan, Anderson, and Broad. We also had some close contenders, and one of them being Joe Root, who I personally feel was hard done by, because if you look at his record in this period, 16 matches, overall average of 56.84, averages 53 in India in 6 games and 59 in England. He also has 400s. Very hard on Joe Root, wasn't it, Gaurav?
Yeah, yeah. Look, it was he was the closest person to make the team, and that's a trick with these uh, kind of dream teams. You can't get all the players and Root. I mean, his 2012 series, 2016, he had a couple of hundreds there as well. So yeah, probably the next time that we do some India England combined 11, he would be a contender in that. The other contender was it was Ashwin. He had a pretty decent 2016 series. Hasn't done that well in England, but I mean with Ashwin, there's always that threat. His record in Indian conditions is just magical. So yeah, Ashwin was another one for us.
And also another one was, you could say, Rahul Dravid's protege in Cheteshwar Pujara. 18 games in this period. He's averaging 44, 64 in India, but a poor average in England of 29. He was another close contender for us. So you have all these great names who form a second 11 in itself. So I think, how would you rate this overall team? And also, I have a question for you. Uh, that is, in this period, say from 2000 till 2020, which team would you like to see this team play and compete against?
By that you mean any international team?
Yeah, any international team.
I think the current Indian team that beat Australia in Australia would be great. Kohli wasn't there, so it would be great, right? But no, I mean, this is a pretty strong team. So the only team that comes to mind is Australian Ricky Ponting's Australian team for sure. I mean, the pace attack, the batting lineup with Dravid, Tendulkar, Peterson, and Kohli. You need some kind of quality, and McGrath and Vaughan are the ones who could challenge. I'm still not sure whether they would be able to get past this lineup, but would be a great contest between this side and the Australian side for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was the same team that came to mind when I thought about this question. And it would also be a good combination because you have England versus Australia, the Ashes, which is big in itself, and now India versus Australia is starting to become more and more important as each series goes by. So it sort of just works out very well.